Hello ladies, this is Trisha Petito. I am coming to you today to teach you these two beautiful card kits utilizing the Ladybug stamp set. Many of you probably received this stamp set as a bonus gift from me, and if so, please go ahead and get your kit out and we will start working on this together. If you did not receive this from me but you would like to learn some tips and tricks, please just grab another stamp set from your stash and you can go ahead and learn several things from me throughout this tutorial. You don't have to have these exact items. You can still play with your items that you have at home and learn some tips and tricks. This is a lovely stamp set, but there are so many others out there that you can utilize, including papers and items from your stash and use them up. So don't feel that you can't play along with us even though you don't have these exact items. So if you want to go ahead and get some items ready, and we will go through this together. So the items that we're going to be using today is this stamp and thin cuts, the In Full Blooms card making workshop. I just love this film strip. I thought it was absolutely awesome, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I bought this thin cut just for that film strip. I figured I could use this in so many different ways throughout my scrapbooking and my card making, and I wanted to utilize it on this first card as we start making it. And as you can see, this is a lovely stamp set and you can utilize it in so many ways. I love that little camera there. So many great little sentiments as well. So that is what I'm going to be using, just that film strip. And these are what you're going to actually be creating, as I already showed you. This is the first card and this is the second card. We're utilizing the same papers, very basic, and then on the inside doing a little fun. So when we're done, that will be the final creations. So stick with me. This is the stamp set called Love Bug with the ladybugs. And like I said, this is rewards kind of stamp set that us consultants can give our customers. So you would have received this from me as a reward of some sort for during one of my scrapbook weekends. So if you want to go ahead and get your kits out, and the first thing you want to grab is going to be the film strip and that little teeny tiny piece of white paper that's in your kit. You're going to see that it matches up exactly behind the film strip. I made it so that it was not exactly, it was only behind the squares, not behind the top and the bottom of the film strip, if you can see. So I took a pencil and I drew squares so I knew exactly where to stamp. And I try to do it very, very softly so that way I could erase them later. So be very gentle when you are doing this with your pencil. You're going to want to erase those. It's really just a guideline for you so you know where to stamp here with your little items. Get some intense black out. Now you're using intense black because you're going to be wanting to color these items. If you used regular black, they might smear. Those are the images, the small little tiny ones that we're going to be using to put, and a 1x1 block. So if you want to go ahead and get those out, you're going to see as you peel it off of that transfer sheet that is actually a border. They're all stuck together. Now this is going to be on your comfort level if you want to leave them together. I very frequently will cut my stamps apart when I know that I want them separately. This does not bother me. I do this all the time. You will see in my videos. I figure they're my stamp sets. I do with them as I want. If this freaks you out and you don't want to cut your stamps, then you can mask off the ones that you want to stamp and leave it together. That's just one extra step you would have to do. Since I know I'm probably frequently going to use them separate, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them apart, just making sure my scissors don't cut into the individual items. So keep in mind, this stamp set has never been used before, so you want to make sure that you season each stamp, each image as you go to use it. So there's several different ways, and you will see me do it throughout while I'm stamping as I'm making this along with you. So you want to either ink it and then clean it off, or you want to season it on the back of your hand or arm. You will see I do it several different times, different ways throughout the course of me stamping. Now, you're probably asking, why am I going to season these stamps? It's mainly just to get the extra stickiness, the extra rubber yuckiness off of them, if you would, if for lack of better terms. So you get a nice clear stamping. So like what I'm doing here, I'm inking it a couple times and I'm cleaning it off, and then I'm like getting my skin cells, if you would, onto the back. It's just to kind of rough it up a little bit to get it ready to go for its first official stamping, and then go ahead and stamp with it as you would. You don't have to season after you start stamping with your stamp for the first time. Some people say season every single time you stamp. I don't find that that's necessary. I just find if you season after, for the first time, after that, you are good to go. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to take each one of these little guys and I am going to stamp. After I season it, I'm going to stamp it on my little strip. I'm going to leave one spot actually blank, and you will see later we're going to put an embellishment there because there's 5 spots in this film strip, and we have 4 stamps, so you want to stamp in 4 of the 5 slots. So as we go through here, don't forget you want to season each one of these, so you will see me do that over and over again. Season, and then go ahead and stamp. I didn't do a great job with putting that right in the middle, but it will have to do. And then for our very last one, and as you see, there are 2 ladybugs and 2 flowers. So I kind of varied them. Flower ladybug, flower ladybug. And there we go. And then what you will see is I off camera went ahead and colored them. I picked a very bright yellow and a very bright red to color those up. And once again, that one spot I left open for an embellishment. So there you go. Don't forget to erase those pencil marks when you are done. If you did them nice and lightly, like I said earlier, it should be really easy to erase those. So when you glue on your film strip, you shouldn't see any pencil marks whatsoever. Nice and easy to erase off of there. I actually kind of like it, just the black and white, but with the pop of color, it makes it really stand out on the card. I'm just checking my pencil lines here and make sure that I can't see them. There we go. Excellent. And there we go. That's the finished work. I'm not totally fond of where my one ladybug is, but it will work. Okay, on for our sentiment. I decided to use these hexagon thin cuts, the stitched hexagons. I thought it would be kind of nice to pull out the hexagon look that's in the background of the paper. And I'm going to use Hey Lady there at the bottom of the stamp set. And as you can see, it is once again a long skinny one. And so once again, I'm going to go ahead and trim it right in the middle where it says Hey with the comma, and put it on my 2x2 block. And and in the arrangement I want. Not quite exactly straight over each other, maybe a little off-centered, so that way it gives it a design element on my hexagon. You could place your hexagon the way I am, or you could turn it on its head, whichever kind of floats your boat. I originally went for my black ink, and then I realized, ooh, it would be more fun with the red. This is just a bright red ink that I thought would look good for a ladybug. This is our candy apple ink. If you have the Close to My Heart colors, if you don't, just any bright, bright red that you think looks like a ladybug. I was planning on coloring my ladybugs a bright red, so I figured the candy apple was the perfect color. And I kind of mimicked that for my stamping. And there we go. Hey, lady. There we go for our sentiment. Okay. So as you can see, my little icons are colored. I used that bright yellow and bright red. Let's put this together. The base of your card is going to have the red glued onto it. I try to put my tape runner all the way to the edges, so that way as people open and close the card, it won't peel back. And as you can see, it's just slightly smaller than the base, so I made sure that it was even around each side. And then you have your hexagon paper, and once again my tape runner all the way to the sides, and I left myself that little red border so it gives you that ladybug feel. I love those hexagons. And then the tricky part of gluing our film strip. So you'll see I just put a little bit of tape on the middle parts of the film strip, because remember that white is only going to go in the middle. It's not going on the top and the bottom. So this part is tricky. You got glue there, so you want to try to line it up so that way your items are right in the middle where you wanted them, yet you're not seeing the white at the top and in the bottom. It should fit in there almost perfectly. And as I got it in, I wasn't exactly happy where I had it, but then it was kind of too late. So hopefully your placement goes a little bit better than mine. I felt like I was shifted a little bit more to the left than I wanted, but at that point it was a little too late for me. So all my images were a little bit more to the left than I wanted, but I still felt it looked really nice. Just maybe not exactly where I wanted them. Make sure you're lined up on either side, nice and straight. We're going to put this hexagon at the top. Oops, I realized it was a little high. So I peeled this off before my glue was totally stuck on there, and I moved it down just a little bit so it wasn't too high. Moved it down just a little. I wanted room for that hexagon. The hexagon's a little bit bigger than what you realize, so you want to give yourself some space. There we go. Perfect. I didn't want to cover over my film strip. So on this I used the 3D foam tape, so I gave it a little pop-up, little 3D element. If you happen to have the thin 3D foam, that's even better, because it doesn't take up it's not as thick when you put it in an envelope to send in the mail, and the post office prefers that. If not, the regular 3D foam is fine. I love the Close to My Heart 3D foam. You can do it with scissors like you just saw, or you can even rip it, which is very convenient. And then I'm grabbing a little dots here. I originally was going to use some white dots, and then I realized my black dots would actually look nicer. So all of your kits have black dots in them. And then there's a black heart, And we're going to put that black heart right in that last film space, right in the middle. If I can get my glue to work here for me. This is the fun part of doing crafting on camera. Nothing seems to work the way you want it to while you're videotaping what you're doing, of course. So when you're moving small little items, tweezers are a really nice item to have. If you don't have some, tweezers are excellent item to have. These tiny point craft ones are excellent. There we go. There's that beautiful acrylic heart piece to go right in the middle. And then we have some black dots that we're going to finish off our card as our last design element. And we're going to put those on there right by our Hey Lady. We're going to do a big one and two little ones. And this is kind of like your preference. I always just kind of play around with what I think I might like, move them around until I'm happy. It's really just your preference, what you think you might like. As you see, I slide them. I decide where I want them and I slide them off of my transfer sheet. You got to be really careful with them because they do have the sticky on the back. I see a lot of people that like pick them off of it and then they see them go flying across the room. There goes your dot. And then I also see people that I'm adjusting them where I like them better. I see people just have different ways of doing them. Just be careful because you don't want to rip the adhesive off the back of those dots. You pay good money for them, so you don't want to lose them. So I find sliding them across works easiest. And there you go. There's our finished. And you put those dots where you like them, what works for you. That's what works for me. And there's our finished first card. Love the film strip. And Hey Lady, you could put anything on the inside, any fun together sentiment. So our second card is going to be utilizing this slimline circle windows thin cut. This is one of our newer thin cuts. Slim lines are all the rage. People having so much fun with them. They're kind of the same size as a business envelope, and so that's why people love them. So this is so much fun. I haven't done the circle one, so this is going to be my first card with it. And once again, back to our stamp set. I'm going to utilize these big items. I don't know which ones I'm going to use. So we're going to use these flowers, these ladybugs. I wasn't sure what initially I was going to do with it. I just knew I liked the big items. So I'm going to get my intense black out since I know I'm going to color them in and do a bunch of stamping with them as you watch. You will see eventually, obviously in the finished card, I end up only using the ladybugs. You may do it different if you would like. You can use the flowers instead if you would like. But I went ahead and stamped all of the large items and then decided to do all the ladybugs at the end. So have fun with it, stamp a bunch, play around with it, and decide what you like best on your card. You will see after this is done, then I kind of went a little haywire with it and then just played around with it. That's what I want you to do with your cards. You got to do what works for you and what you like. With black, you have to make sure you have a really, really nice, solid image. Otherwise, it looks not quite right. So as you see while I'm stamping, I'm actually looking through my black and making sure I have good ink coverage. So as we go through this, I'm choosing all of my images that are larger. You'll see that I'm doing my seasoning on my arm. I'm also putting ink on it, cleaning it off, and then re-inking again. So I'm doing extra good seasoning. mainly because this is black ink and it has a tendency just not to show well if you don't have a good seasoned stamp. Look how beautiful that looks. If you seasoned it well, it will always be a nice, crisp, clean image. We got another flower here. Like I said, once you season it the first time, you won't have to season again later. And we got, I think, two more ladybugs. I almost said butterflies. Those are not butterflies. Those are ladybugs. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. You'll also see while I am stamping, um, I always stabilize my hands and I go straight down, hold it, and then come straight back up. If you do that and don't rock or press, smash it down, you always get a nice clean image. You won't have the lines around it. You won't ruin your other images next to them. And as you can see, I'm just stamping on the white piece of paper um, because we're going to be actually cutting these images out. Fussy cutting for those of you who love it. And for those of you who hate it, it's not too much, I promise. These do not have die cuts, so, or thin cuts, however you want to say it. And there we go. That's what I went ahead and stamped. The ladybugs, the two big ladybugs, two of the little ladybug, and then the two big flowers. I ended up not using oh, I'm sorry, and then the one other ladybug that's kind of sitting there. I ended up not using those flowers, but if you decide to use the flowers, you may do so. I forgot there was one more ladybug. That's why at the last minute I added him on. And I did end up using him. And so that was what I ended up stamping. So you can do exactly the way I did my card and only do those bottom ladybugs, or change it up. It's your card. Do it as you will. So I'm going to give you I'm not going to cut all of these to bore you to death. I'm going to give you an example of the best way what I find is the best way to cut. If you keep your scissors in the same position, so if you watch my right hand, I don't move my right hand. I'm actually moving my left hand. So I'm turning the paper and my paper is what's moving. My scissors are always in the same position, if that makes sense. So it's my left hand that's doing all the moving, where my right hand is kind of staying still. That will help you with fussy cutting. Move the paper to the scissors. And you will find that that's a little bit easier to manipulate your images. These are larger images, so they are not huge, but they are larger. They're not tiny, so they're very quick and easy to stamp out. And there you go. Kind of cut it like you were die cutting. So the next part we're going to do is, I just loved these little bug dotted lines. It was supposed to be images that represented where the bug had moved or flew to, if you would. You see these a lot with bugs like bumblebees and so on and so forth. And I just thought, oh, I had to do this for my little ladybug. So I played around with where I thought it would be cute to have it on the card, and took my ink and put it down here, and then I also did it at the top. And as you can see, it got a little bit on my plastic backing, which is no big deal. I turned the image around and put it at the top. It's okay if it goes off the edge a little bit, because that's where my ladybug was going to go. And there we go. My thought was put the two little tiny ladybugs in the middle so it looked like they were flying in to say hi, if you would. And then I figured while I had the stamps out and the inks out, I was going to go ahead and stamp the middle of the card. And there actually is in the stamp set a big happy birthday. And I figure, why don't we use that? It's always good to have happy birthday cards, always good to have those on hand for that friend, neighbor, sister, brother, a best friend, whoever you might need a birthday card for, and can grab it or throw it in the mail. So I just took that black ink and put that right in the middle. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was just going to leave it like that so I could write whatever I wanted to around it. And then I realized, I have this cute little ladybug and I have that cute little dotted lines. Let's make this a little more fun. So I went ahead and added my ladybugs and my lines. This is where a lot of people fail to, I guess fail is not the right word. A lot of people forget or don't take the time to do the little extra personalization. And this is where I think people really notice that it's a handmade card. If you take that extra time to do the extra stamping, because people realize, oh wow, they did that. They made this. You can also, while you have it out, go ahead and stamp the outside of the card envelope. So when they get it in the mail, before they even open up that card, they know you made it, because it matches your card on the inside. I've been doing that a lot lately, and I absolutely love it. I could have put one of those little swirls and ladybugs on the outside of my envelope as well, either on the front or the back, and how fun would that have been? And so this, I colored all of my ladybugs with a tri-blend marker. This is the dark red blend, but I actually used the light side of it so it was nice and bright. So all of our tri-blend markers that we have, there's 3 different markers in one. There's the light side, in the middle there's a medium, and then on the other end there's a, dark side of it. So each marker actually has 3 different colors in it, which is wonderful for blending your colors and having the different variations of it. So this particular marker, it's called Dark Red Blend, and I used the light side of it, so I had that nice bright red ladybug color. For those of you who have these markers and want to do the same color. And there we go. And the very last thing, so when I wanted to go ahead and get my embellishments going, I realized I really, really, really wanted a red dot. I wanted a red embellishment. I'm looking through my drawers and I could not, well, I've had red embellishments, but none of them were the exact red that I was looking for. And then I realized, well, let's take my white ones that I have and I'm going to make my own red so it matches perfectly. So this is a little trick that a lot of you just don't know that you can do. We have black and white dots, enamel dots. And the white ones are perfect. You can make them whatever color you want. So take your tri-blend marker, the one you just colored, your ladybugs, and color your whites. So I ended up doing 2 different layers of it. I colored it just like you saw, let it sit for a little bit, and then color a second time. And after it dried, then I used it on the card. It was the perfect color, and you will see how perfect it looks on the card. So let's put this together. So once again, let's use our tape runner, go along the outside edge, all the way to the outside edge, so that way as people are opening and closing, it does not come apart. And you're going to go ahead and glue that down. when I was gluing this down, I realized that I had a little bit of over edge on the edge. So you would want to take your cutter or your scissors and just trim off that little tiny bit that's hanging off the edge if that bothers you, like it does me. So that way people won't see it when they open up the card. And you can do that now. You could do that afterwards. Not a problem. You could go ahead and glue this part on next, right around the outside edge again. If you wanted to make this into a shaker, this is where you would adhere the acetate, the plastic part onto here. And then instead of putting regular glue onto this pretty paper, you would use 3D foam to pop it up. And in between the two layers, put whatever shaker item you wanted. So much fun to make them shaker cards. I did not want to do it as a shaker card, so where I'm just showing you the paper on paper, but you very much could have made this a shaker card. As you can see, I'm making sure it's lined up very nicely. And then we're going to add our colored images here. I did them the same exact color as I did the inside, that bright red. And I decided I wanted these little suckers to be popped up, so I used my 3D foam tape once again, adding that to the back of them. The 3D foam just adds that little element of dimension onto your cards, gives it a visual pop, little extra fun to it versus everything being flat. And it really does make it look nice. So here's my little ladybugs that go with their dots. I just love them. I thought they were perfect, making it look like they're flying onto the card. Trying to get them positioned the way I want them. Love them. And then we got our little ladybug that's laying down, and I want him going the right way so he looks like he's walking over to the other guys. Get him on there straight. And then our ladybug that's like he's sitting on a leaf. Trying to figure out, do I want him this way? Nope. I think that way looks best. And there we are. And then here we go with our last but not least. There's our red dots, and as I said, I did them twice. Now, you will see that I'm actually using my tweezers this time. I was very worried about doing what I normally do, which is just slide them off because, like I said, I colored them. I was worried that if I pushed them off, I might actually disturb the coloring. I wasn't sure. You know, they had dried for a little while, but I didn't want to mess up my coloring. I worked hard to make them look pretty. Like I said, I did two layers of the red tri-blend. But I didn't want to mess them up and have to fix them. So I used my tweezers, which is not my normal. You guys know I always slide them off, but I didn't want to mess up all my hard work. So as you can see, they're very, very, very sticky. They did not want to come off my tweezers here. So I struggled with the little guy here. And then I was trying to figure out where I like the placement. And then once I was happy where it was, I went ahead and gave them a little tap and pushed them down. And oh my gosh, as you can see, the red matched the ladybugs perfectly, and that's what I wanted. I wanted that perfect look, and that's what I want you guys to know is those white enamel dots are perfectly colored with those tri-blends, and they can match anything that you have in your stash with your coloring. Now there we are, final card. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Your two ladybug cards. Have a great night.